that drink that you have smells divine.
The Waterloo?
Is it like...
Do you want a little Waterloo?
What flavor is it? It just
Guava.
it smells delicious.
Guava
I'm
berry.
fine. It just...
Guava berry.
I love the smell
Have
of
you
a
heard
guava, something.
Guavas.
Guavas.
Listen, I'm a little paranoid. Sparkling water is my one true love, but I'm a little paranoid now that they're all hormone disrupting. But I
know. I just love LaCroix. LaCroix Pamplemousse.
I'm happy for you that you love LaCroix because it tastes like the aftertaste of a taste.
A lot. Yeah. It's the idea.
It's like the backwash
it's the very
of flavor.
hint of a taste.
Yes. And
it's naturally essenced.
But I was literally, my sister drinks a lot of Waterloo. I started drinking Waterloo, and I was walking around the block with Ziggy the other day, drinking one, just feeling like a cute little girly drinking her little Waterloo, walking with her son. And I had the thought, if there's like a recall on this or some person tests this for something, I don't want to know.
Yeah,
I don't want to know anymore. I decided I don't want to know anymore.
Everything has lead and arsenic in it.
Like right now, ignorance is bliss now. Okay?
Exactly. And on that note,
we're not sponsored by Waterloo, but we could be.
We could
Waterloo be. Slide into them DMs.
Slide into the DMs, Waterloo. Welcome to Script Daddy, the podcast where we read scripts, watch the movie, and discuss the differences between script and screen. I am your host, Colin.
I am your host, Carlie.
And what are we doing today, Carlie Ann?
I don't know. Do you mind calling me by your name?
Okay. Carlie. Or wait, Colin.
I was like, what are you doing?
Colin.
I have to say, I've thought about this quite a bit. I do first the whole idea of call me by your name, like that literal phrase, that moment.
Yeah.
First, I was like, little odd. Then it grew on me, and I decided that it's the weird form of romance that I'm actually very into. It's such a strange.
It's like playing on like that idea of the melding of identities when you get with someone and like the barriers that love dissolves between two people.
But like to say it in the midst of intimacy is kind of
it's a little odd. I always felt like the moment never quite hits for me the way I want it to. I feel like I need to read the book because I feel like in the book it will really be powerful. Aside from the questionable age gap, but
I don't disagree with you that I felt like I wanted to that's what I mean is like when I first saw it, I was like, odd.
I want to love it.
Like the placements, like it felt a little bit odd. But then when I just thought about it a lot, I was like, I do kind of like that as a very like kind of unique, interesting intimacy shared between two people. But I do agree. I kind of wish that moment hit harder.
Especially from like the spiritual aspect of like what you love and hate about another person is just a reflection of what you love and hate about yourself.
Ooh, yes.
And how, because there's so many spiritual leaders that talk about how when you're falling in love with someone, you're really just falling in love with the pieces of yourself that you see in them reflected back.
I think about that more often than...
When you're younger, it's like, that's so stupid. But the older you get and when you like actually fall in love with someone and like a real sustainable love, you really do. It comes to the forefront.
No, it's so true. But it's also
but then
quite
like realizing
freeing.
those things. Yeah, it is. It is freeing because then you're able to see those pieces and then expand that viewpoint.
And you stop. It can help you stop chasing that feeling like a drug with other people because you realize if it really is you, then you can just keep coming back to yourself.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Whereas if you really think it's this thing from that only someone else can give you, and when it dips low, you decide that's the person's problem and not yours, then you're just gonna chase.
The way it's the most helpful aspect of that has been the what upsets you about someone else is like what you if you in the spiritual practice that we both are part of, there's a tagline that says, if you can spot it, you've got it.
Yes.
And it's just that simple thing of like what you dislike about someone else is a direct projection of what you dislike about yourself. And that is such a fucking read.
It's such a read.
And it takes a lot of vulnerability and introspection to parse through those bits of information in yourself. But then once you see it, it's so expanding and freeing.
It's so expanding and freeing. It's so, I feel like it blows my mind how divinely like intertwined everything is. I'm taking this class right now that it's an acting class, but it's all about like your energy centers, and it's a totally different like body-based approach to acting, but it applies to everything. And we were really like diving into shadow work, and that was literally the exact exercise was like imagining a person who pisses you off or like really annoys annoys you or gets under your skin, embodying them only then to come full circle. And it took me 0.2 seconds to go like, oh, the person I'm envisioning, the things that I am bothered by, immediately I was like, are in me. They're just amplified on this person.
Yeah.
This person just like wears them like almost proudly. And I don't.
And it's a scapegoat to, skirt around, what's the word I'm looking for? Accountability within yourself so often. But anyway.
The other thing that was brought up though that I thought was really interesting was that idea of considering if you really were to take it outside of you and looking at another person and saying, this person triggers me, going, what happened in their life that led them to use these particular beliefs, actions, whatever, to protect themselves.
Yeah.
Because we're such protective creatures.
That is such a level up as well.
Is there a fly in your beverage?
Tiny little gnat thing, but that is okay.
That is okay.
Because it just wants a little sipple of divine, gorgeous Earl Grey tea as well.
We are getting older, my love. You're sipping Earl Grey at 7:30, which is ballsy.
I've been cold brewing my my Earl Grey in my water bottle before I come here for an hour, and it is divine.
Oh, that does. Can you really quick tell the listeners how many shots of espresso you get in drinks when we go out? And
Typically 4. A quad.
Let me just say real quick. I cannot even have one without feeling like I'm going to question my life. And every time Colin and I get coffee together, I am shooketh when he says 4 because Colin and I in many ways are so similar. And then there's these other areas where you can down some caffeine in a way that would kill me.
Listen to me when I tell you it is because I have overcome an addiction to stimulants. And that and a can of Celsius is the last rush I have.
You know what? Real and fair. Matcha is the last one I have, even though I never had that, but still. Sometimes I need matcha to make me feel a little alive.
Yeah.
Even if it means my heart racing a bit more than I'd like, I'm like, but I'm alive, baby.
Also, the babies won't hear this because it's cut out of the preamble of a former episode. But in a former episode, you asked me if green tea has more caffeine than black tea. And I said that it does, and I was wrong. Black tea has more caffeine, and you knew it. And I just had to rectify that situation.
Thank you. I feel vindicated. All right. Anyway, without further ado.
Yeah. So welcome
Call Me by Your Name.
Call Me by Your Name episode.
Okay.
Let's get into it.
Big news, fam. We're going back to IMDb because Deborah's making it come back. I am
wow.
Deborah.
I wonder if Jeffrey is in his mansion just like slapping himself. Stupid
Bezos. Stupid. Yeah. Yes. And if anyone's new listening.
I love the idea that he looks at himself and calls himself Bezos.
Me too. Oh, he's not Jeff or Jeffrey. He's Bezos.
Bezos hungry.
Oh,
Bezos buy new company.
If you're new here, IMDb is often referred to as I Am Deborah.
Yes.
And we've been quite disappointed for seasons now with
Debbie stays slipping.
Whoever is writing the log lines, and we just decided it has to be Jeffrey himself.
Yeah. Clearly. Duh. Bezos.
And but late. So we went to oh wait, no, I take it
Amazon.
back. This isn't Amazon. This is sorry. Okay. I had a moment where I was like, wait, does he
Amazon tends to have better log lines.
So we were like, is
Bezos
Jeffrey,
must be writing
we
them.
were like, is this his like passion hobby he doesn't tell anyone about?
Whatever intern they have locked in a cell that is forced to write the log lines for I Am Deborah is
bad.
Honestly,
but this is the second or third episode in a row where the IMDb log line's been better
Debbie's
than
been
the
stepping
Amazon
her shit
one.
up.
So here we go. In the summer of 1993, 17-year-old Elio. Hello, I just had a brain fart. We're going to start that one again. In the summer of 1983, 17-year-old I got in my head again, is spending the days with his family at their villa in Italy. He soon meets 24-year-old Oliver, an intern working for his father. They discover the heady beauty of awakening desire.
Oh,
not terrible, but not.
I like that.
No, it's pretty good.
It's intriguing.
I do think it's very interesting.
They discover the heady beauty of awakening desire. That's
almost all that you need.
Log line, interestingly enough, actually makes me appreciate the story a skosh more.
I don't disagree with you.
I really enjoy that.
That's why I went
line.
with this one, because I was like, ooh, they discovered the heady beauty of awakening desire.
I would want to read that script based on that logline.
I would too.
Ooh.
I did think it was a really interesting choice to include their ages in it as well.
Yeah, it's important. Also, I have a gripe. The script says he's 25, and all the descriptions that I find online, it says that Oliver's character is 24. I'm going to be going with what the script says, 25. Even though everywhere else says he's 24, I'm going to be a contrarian in this, but I'm going from what's on the page.
We're not huge fans of.
No, I'm disgusted by the age gap of it all. And I get that it's set in Italy and the age of consent in Italy is 14. That doesn't make it any fucking better. It's gross.
There should be nowhere where the age of consent is 14. I'm just going to go ahead and say that.
In Japan, it's like 13 or 12. It's sick.
All I could consent to at 13 was which shirt at Limited 2 I wanted to purchase.
Yeah.
Which pleather jacket I thought should be mine. Mm-hmm. Okay? And even that, questionable. Mm-hmm. Probably shouldn't have been able to make that decision.
Even at 17, girl, I didn't know shit from fucking shit.
Okay, the director is Luca Guadagnino.
Yeah.
He directed Challengers, Bones and All, Suspiria, Queer, After the Hunt, like a lot. By the way, I really do want to watch Bones and All.
I do too. I just haven't been. I don't know. The cannibalism of it all makes me eat. Like when she
you're saying
eats that person's finger.
That is way more your thing than me. But there's something in me that really wants to see it.
I know. Yeah,
I want to see Timothy in it.
We should see it.
We should see it. But like, I mean. Gorgeous resume. The writer is James Ivory, and Andre Ackerman wrote the book. James also wrote, I mean, he has a fair amount, but the main thing
he has a pretty prolific career.
Yeah, the main ones that came up are The Remains of the Day, Maurice, and A Room with a View.
Yeah, I'm dying to see Maurice. That's been on my list for a few years now.
Ooh, we should watch it.
I need to see it. It's like a coming of age story of like a queer man in Edwardian England. And
we love.
Yeah, like reckoning with his sexuality in a time when it was straight up illegal. But
love.
Yeah.
Love.
And I love that time period.
We should do it.
But yes, God.
We should do it. It is starring none other than Timothy Chalamet.
Hey, Tim.
And Armie Hammer. And Michael Stuhlbarg. Yeah.
Just speaking of cannibalism. Oof. Anyway.
Full circle. Full unfortunate circle.
Yeah.
Okay. Again, I always get real in my head. Like, this is like some childhood shit. I really get it. Even when I look up like how to pronounce it, I really get in my head. The cinematographer was Sayambu Mukdipram. If I said that wrong, I apologize. Again, I love that we're seeing, we see this a lot. He's done Suspiria, Queer, Challengers.
Oh, love.
Like,
they
he
have a working
he works with the
relationship.
director a lot, which I think is, I love that. And to me, it's like, there's something so stunning about when a director and a cinematographer like come together, because
it's
that's
such a symbiosis. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The budget was $3.5 million. And the gross is like all over the place. Like, I could not find a nailed down gross. It said anywhere. This is a pretty massive gap. It says anywhere between 41 and 71 million worldwide. There was like conflicting resources. That's a pretty massive.
Just like a lot of the other research we did on this movie, there's a lot of conflicting, contradictory information out there about this movie that come from various sources of the people who made it. And who knows where the real truth lies? Somewhere in the middle, probably.
I'm just gonna rattle through some quick triv.
Give us a
So supposedly the only rehearsal consisted of Armie and Timothy making out.
Okay.
The director wanted a naturalistic feel to their performances, so he asked for just one rehearsal. Hammer and Chalamet joined him in the backyard of a villa where they filmed, where the director chose a scene to practice. The scene consisted only of them rolling in the grass, making out. So Hammer and Chalamet got into it, and after a long kissing session, they looked up to find that the director had walked off, leaving them alone. Sounds
interesting.
Fun.
Okay.
This is awesome. Timothy learned to speak Italian and play classical piano pieces used in the film.
I was wondering about the piano. I was like, did he always play piano? Like, because you see him straight up playing.
Yeah,
and I was like,
no,
okay,
I was
Timothy.
really impressed with that. The entire film, including the opening credits, was shot with a single 35mm lens.
Yeah.
Gorge. It's stunning.
He said he wanted it to be a really simple film. He didn't want the shots to get in the way of like the intimacy. It's one of the strongest points of it,
in my opinion.
It is.
It's really, really beautiful. Because
there's a lot of moments that a lot of directors would have gotten like really, and there are like up close and personal moments where there's a lot of moments I realized that a lot of directors either would have like zoomed in on or like gotten us closer, but like he stays in a wide.
It's
for a lot
shot
of shots
like
between
an
them.
indie
It's nice.
in the best way.
Yes.
Like in the most flattering way, it's shot like an indie.
Yeah.
Do you get what I'm saying when I say that?
Yeah.
Despite various sexual scenes in the film, Armie Hammer stated in an interview that the most uncomfortable he ever felt during filming was when he was filming the dance scenes. That just was so interesting to me because I was like, I 9.5 times out of 10 cringe when there is like a dance sequence for someone in a movie, because even the coolest bitch in town, even the coolest guy in the world, 9 times out of 10, like if you're making them dance and we have to be looking over at them as like the viewer, like watch, it's like I always am like, that's a rough sitch.
And on the page, it's supposed to be like, he's so free and it's kind of alluring to see him like dancing and he's not like any of the other people around him.
That's not what we're getting.
No,
that's not what
it's very
got.
like,
that's why I believe, yes, it's very,
if you're watching on YouTube, you'll get to see my dance moves.
Yes,
but
like finger guns going off everywhere. You're not safe. They're going off. Okay, last quick things. During the hiking scene up to the waterfall, they holler with excitement. In actuality, the screams were genuine reactions of discomfort from actors Chalamet and Hammer due to the frequent shocks from stinging nettle on their exposed legs.
Oh.
The entire mountainside was covered in it. I thought that was funny. Okay, so again, Colin and I have heard different things, but supposedly Timothy was 20 when they shot it, and Armie was 29. But I've also heard that
in an interview I heard 19, he was 18.
18. It's all over the place.
Yeah, Luca. I'm pretty sure I saw Luca himself saying he was 18. But
weird.
You never know. There's so much conflicting.
Yeah, it's very strange
information for this.
And
especially
lastly,
with like the directors and like how it all came together is super. It feels contentious,
shady baby
between the writer and Luca.
Ew. And lastly, Sufjan Stevens, who we love.
The reason for the season,
he wrote 2 original songs. For
those
the
songs, "The Mystery of Love," bitch. Are you kidding me? That song makes me cry. It's so.
He was
beautiful.
only requested to write 1, and he wrote 2. The songs were "Visions of Gideon" and "Mystery of Love." Yeah, like absolutely stunning.
Yeah,
stunning.
I feel like those songs did so much for the press of this movie. I remember because the movie was like talked about a lot, and I remember it being pretty popular when it came out, but I feel like the songs kind of transcended the movie and had a life of their own. And when people think of this movie, I think a lot of people think of the Mystery of Love song.
Well, and I also feel like upon viewing it this time, the songs hit at moments that really like do kind of strike you. Like it really adds a lot. Like when they come on, it's like it's very visceral to me. Agreed. So I was like, okay, Sufjan. And that is it for the Triv. What, darling, is your script score?
My script score.
Walk us through it.
Is 6.6 out of 10. And this is what I wrote after reading. I said, the script breaks traditional rules, but I can't decide whether or not I enjoy it. The writer indicates dialogue in the action, like on page 9, where it says, Oliver, aware that he has caused Elio to interrupt his flow, gets up and comes over to where Elio is sitting. Elio is noncommittal, hiding hurt feelings. In a pause, Oliver questions Elio about the piece that broke off. Who was it? Or is it yours? Do I know it? It sounded like... Elio hits some notes. This or that? I'm all for breaking the rules, but something about having dialogue options presented in the action provided friction for me as a reader instead of drawing me in. There's also a narrator that is, in my opinion, completely unnecessary, and the narrator even repeats themselves on page 5 and 11. Though the narration provides necessary exposition, it's nothing that we couldn't have learned from the characters themselves in more intriguing and engaging ways. At times, the dialogue feels natural and lived in, leaving room for us to read between the lines and divine deeper context for ourselves. Then at other moments, it feels too leading and utilitarian in a way that is unnatural, like a means to an end. Where the script excels is in its unique, intimately erotic moments of yearning between Elio and Oliver. Their constrained and tortured longing for each other often kept me engaged as a reader, though even these moments left me feeling uncertain about whether or not it's okay to even feel that way. The age difference between the two leads, Elio being 17 and Oliver being 25, though in the context of a 20th century European sentiment, is something that takes the romance out of the story almost entirely. It's creepy, there's no way around it, especially given the fact that they place so much of the pursuit on Elio's shoulders, seemingly with the hopes of ameliorating Oliver's morality in doing so. Though I can firmly put myself in Elio's shoes, I've been the closeted young gay boy seeking sexual validation from an older man. I can't help but feel relieved to exit the story's universe after the last page.
Ooh, that last sentence hits.
I didn't love it. And it was interesting because when the movie first came out, I remember there's parts of it, like specifically with Elio, that really, really, really resonate within me and with my own experience, especially, my first like sexual experience was when I was freshly 18 with a guy who was 24. And it like upended my entire world for multiple reasons. But I remember bawling my fucking eyes out when I first saw the movie. So this time around, I expected to have, I remember loving this movie and I expected to really love the script, and it just, we'll get into other reasons why, but like, I don't know, the story to me isn't that great.
Yeah, and I feel
it has its moments, but
it's interesting because I feel like my opinion on it is like slightly secondary because I can't relate to it as specifically, other than I can relate to being a young person, feeling desire. There was a guy that was much older than me, but it was like we actually he voiced his interest in me when I was quite young, but was like, I'm not gonna do anything about it until you're of age. But like looking back, nothing physical ever happened. But like some of the conversations, like now as a grown ass 35-year-old woman, I'm like in hindsight, I'm like absolute ew.
But the exhilaration of being young and having like an older guy
and to be
after
honest with you, like I really regret nothing in my life, but I did have a moment after being with my husband for a couple of years of going like, I had this like aha moment of going like, this guy is part of why yearning is like intrinsically part of me, but in the unhealthy way. I have learned healthier ways of yearning. And someone that I was with after him, I think was a much healthier, but like, it is interesting to experiencing things through our lens, but then with time looking back and going like, oh, I feel differently because I don't have such potent energy, like whatever. So for me, I remember I didn't see this movie when it first came out. I saw it like many years later, and I was like, yeah, I liked it. And then like I kind of moved on. But again, totally different experience, didn't have the same like relating to it, whatever. So this time I was like, I was expecting to be kind of blown away by the script for some reason. Yeah. And then felt like kind of shocked over and over again that I
won the Oscar for Best Adapted Screenplay.
Which I actually do feel weird saying I'm shocked by that, but I am kind of shocked by that.
It feels like it was an honorary Oscar for
because
his
obviously
career,
this is a very talented man, and we have no interest in being disparaging, but like I
can't and won't take his obvious talent away from him. This script, I just don't think is the best example.
Well, it was one of those things where I kept coming back to. I'm like, when I think about like listeners or like clients that I've worked with, like I just would never reference this script as something to read or to really like base anything off of, because I feel like if he didn't have like the backing that he had with all these years of doing these things, like I don't know that this would have even been looked at twice in certain ways. And not because it's, oh my God, so bad. It's not, oh my God, so bad. It's just that like, here's what I wrote. I said, my initial thoughts are that this script feels challenging.
What's your score?
Oh, my score, I always get too excited. My script score was 7. I went back and forth, but I was 7 was kind of where I landed. Because again, it's not bad. I just more felt frustrated that it wasn't better is kind of how I felt.
Yeah, I would say it has moments that are bad, but there's
also moments that are kind of unexpectedly great.
Agreed.
Okay. I said, I get the broad stroke of everything, but it feels like so much of it is written in a more complex and drawn out way than is ever necessary, working against the story versus for it. This feels like a script that relies so much on telling you, opposed to working to evoke actual feeling. The dialogue was scarce and at times added a sense of mystique to it, but to believe these two men were in love when all we really saw of them was deep physical attraction left me wondering how I'd feel if the dialogue had been a bit more nuanced. Oliver's dialogue often made him come off as predatorial, even with the constant checking to be sure Elio was okay. It felt earnest and more a man trying to keep a conscience clean. At times I felt like I was getting too many details about things that didn't actually matter. And then other times I felt like I was being told way more than I had ever earned as a reader. Like it's like I'm all over the place in this because that's how I felt. Like,
agreed.
And what's interesting is the script is a lot more based, in my opinion, in their physical relationship, whereas the movie does a better job of exploring. There's an energy kind of between them. You kind of feel a lot longer leading up to it. Yeah. Whereas in the script, I literally, by the time like Elio kind of has the scene where he like doesn't really tell him that he's interested, but kind of does tell him that scene actually bummed me out. I wanted better dialogue for that scene so bad when they're at the water fountain or like at the statue. And I just was like,
when
how
he's essentially
are we
saying
this
like,
far?
I've never had sex and I want to have sex for the first time with you, but by not saying it.
but again, like I love the whole I'm using different words, but I was like, how are we this far into a script and a movie? And this is the dialogue that we're choosing. Now, granted, I do think Timothy brought something to the scene that made it work better, but on the page, I was fucking frustrated.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I mean, I can appreciate that there's so much emphasis on the physicality of it because it's like when your sexuality is budding and because like we're really experiencing this story through Elio's lens. Like we're kind of on this journey with him. And
I'm scared to see it through Oliver's.
I don't want to. That's a very different story. The Woody Allen story.
That movie would not have done well, I'm pretty certain.
But like sexuality when it's first coming around, like is physically based.
Absolutely.
And then the emotions come secondary to that. And so there's something to be said with exploring that entrance into it.
Agreed.
I just
didn't buy that they were in love in the script.
Agreed. And then even the themes of like desire, it wasn't executed well enough for me to really get on board with either of their characters. But like a lot of people praise it because there's not any defined antagonist. There's really no antagonistic part of it at all, whether it be from society, from his parents. Yeah. There's not really a whole lot of internal struggle of being like, am I gay? Am I not? Yeah. There's a little bit of shades of that with Elio, but like I can appreciate that as a gay person, especially with like if you've listened to our Brokeback Mountain episode, I go in about how I feel like it's torture porn for gay people. And meant for straight people to be like, oh, how sad it is to be a gay person. Whereas this is like very much the opposite of it. But then at times it doesn't really feel like that much of a celebration of the joy of being gay either in certain ways. So yeah, I just didn't know really where to land with it as a story.
One of the things I found that I actually really enjoyed about it, even more this watching it after having read the script and stuff, was that they never nailed down like a label of their sexuality.
I do love that.
They make a point to show that Elio is attracted to the girl that he's not in love with her.
Honestly, I think like, Elio's probably bi and I think Oliver's gay. And Oliver is freaked the fuck out.
Yeah.
Because that ending phone call when he's like, I remember everything.
Yeah.
And he says it's like, this is a man who's chosen, he's got to live in the closet given the time period. Actually, it's in the 90s. I keep thinking that this movie's set in the 60s. It's not.
1983, but... Yeah.
83, right. I thought it was 90s. No, that's still... Being gay is definitely not still cool.
Well, but on the phone, he says, like, he's like, my parents... like figured it out. And he's like, well, my dad would have put me in the loony bin. That's the only indication we get.
Yeah, we see what his world is that he's in, why he has to hide.
But I did just think, I didn't feel it in the script again, but I actually really felt it in the movie. And I feel like it had a lot to do with the direction and Timothy's performance, that other than like the one little shade of it after the morning after they have sex, you see Elio he's very weird in the script. Like he's very weirded out, and you can tell that Oliver's like super freaked out by how weirded out he is. It's really subdued more so in the film.
It is.
But other than that, I actually loved that Elio, that was not what he was grappling with. He was more so grappling with just like the love of it all, where you're just like, I'm overcome with how strongly I feel. But that he seemed to be very, this might be too much, but he seemed to be kind of at peace with his sexuality in the sense that like he was really enjoying his time with the girl physically. Cause I thought, what an interesting point for a script that uses very minimal dialogue, for them to keep the line of her saying, you're so hard right now, like when they're...
And then after they have sex, he says, wow, that felt so good.
And so they really make a point in a script that doesn't use much dialogue to say that like he's very clearly attracted to this girl, but he doesn't feel for her the way he feels about Oliver.
Yes. And then there's also one of the dynamics...
Which is interesting.
It is, because the part of that dynamic that I found really intriguing, which is such a thing across, homosexual and heterosexual relationships, is this idea that like there starts to become this kind of dance of when Elio's trying to get Oliver's attention, and he's not succeeding at that, and he's kind of laid out on the line for him, but he's still not getting what he wants from Oliver. He then goes back to Marcia's character and starts to pursue her more to try, in my mind, they never say it, whether this is it or not, but in my mind, he's trying to make Oliver jealous to elicit more desire out of him and to say like, come and get me kind of thing. Aren't you jealous of this? Because we then see the like kind of love triangle of Elio, Oliver, and Chiara. And I loved that element of it because there's such a petulant kind of youthful quality to dangling yourself in front of someone. And like, while I do think he is fine being sexually active with a woman, he did kind of use Marcia as like a means to an end but
in a way that I think, like you said, it's like the age and also the type of person where it's like
instead of feeling gross, it felt more like just indicative of his age, which I found it really interesting because that's also an element of like, I feel like everyone has been Elio in that situation of like not getting the attention that you want from someone. So you're going to throw yourself at someone else.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But then when you do get it, then he set up this whole thing with Marcia, and he's kind of shitty to her.
And I'm just going to say this. We're jumping. So I just realized we didn't even do our movie scores yet.
Oh,
Sorry, babies. But I will say one of the things I feel is completely unearned in this. And I do love, like, I love a reconciliation, but their reconciliation is absolute bullshit.
Marcia and
her, after
Elio.
He blows her off, they have no conversation, no nothing.
Yeah.
And she's like, essentially like, let's be friends. He's like, forever, whatever. I love the bow, but I'm like, the bow was so unearned. Because if you're in her position, it actually just kind of makes her look like you can walk all over me, because that's what he does.
Yeah, I can understand that. I wish they would have, because when she goes up to him in that car, he's like the look on it, he has clearly been bawling his fucking eyes out. And I would have loved to see a little moment where he
just said, I'm sorry.
Whether we hear him say it or not, whether we cut to a wide and we see them talking, that we get an indication that he tells her a little bit of what happened. And she's like, and then her saying, can we be friends? Would be,
then
adds a layer there of like, I want to be in your life no matter what, even if I can't be with you sexually or romantically. Because that shows
actually her character, that she'd be like, I love you so much that I don't care. But all we have to go off of is their last interaction where he's a dick. He's so consumed with Oliver that he like sees her and he's like, I've been like working a lot
like,
and I'm busy.
Am I your girl? And he straight up is like,
like he's not kind to her at all.
Crying.
She walks away crying, and then all of a sudden she's had this complete change of heart, and she's like, and they're like friends forever. That I'm like, again, what would have made it so much more poignant was any indication, or her seeing him with Oliver for something that makes her decision to say, let's just be friends, come from a place of like something other than like wet blanket. It should have been a powerful moment. And to me, I was like, ew, girl.
Yeah.
He treated you like shit.
There's a bunch of moments that kind of feel, and
half
for me,
a little
half-baked and kind of like an afterthought. And after reading a lot of the writers' interviews, there's times where it kind of implies that he kind of phoned it in with writing certain elements of it. But I mean, this is not me taking a jab at James Ivory at all. Like, he is, has a great career. He's clearly very talented, but it's just, I don't know. I don't think this is necessarily his best work.
Should we do our movie scores?
I think we better.
I think might have been a gnat in mine. I'm like choking on something.
My movie score is 7.4 out of 10. I said
mine.
I said the film exceeds the script by a substantial amount. They trim the fat in a lot of the scenes, lean into more natural dialogue that doesn't feel so purpose-built. And the way they restructure the scenes really helps drive home the plot beats, particularly in the dance Elio plays between his romance with Oliver and Marcia. The beautiful cinematography and incredible original songs from Sufjan Stevens are the real stars of the show for me. However, while I love the feeling of the movie, I still don't appreciate the story overall. The imbalance of power between Elio and Oliver feels predatory, despite Oliver's attempts to constrain himself initially. Particularly because the romance is encouraged and bolstered by Elio's parents. I may be oversimplifying things, but I can't escape the sour taste in my mouth in regard to that point. Aside from that aspect, though, I do love the way they wrap up the film. Between the father's beautifully poignant monologue to Elio and the call where Oliver tells Elio he's getting married, the character arc for the bittersweet coming of age works really nicely. I particularly love how we stay on a close-up of Elio gazing into the fire as the end credits roll, pain and bitterness swirling through his tearful expression, but then we land the plane after a few moments when his mother softly says, "Elio, Elio." Then he turns to look at her, signifying a return to self after his brush with heartbreak, now stronger and more wise for it.
Okay, Bush. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, I think my favorite part of the movie is the ending.
Yeah,
aside from the cinematography, you mean
like the final scene?
Yeah. Aside from the overall vibe and feel of the movie, I love the sweaty summer. I love the fresh fruit. I love the cold drinks.
Yeah.
It's like you can feel that Italian sun on you, and like riding bikes, you can like smell that dry grass that
the atmosphere is so.
It's very much there, and that there is elements of that are on the page.
Yeah,
that was one thing that I do point out. There are moments where he builds out this this ecosystem of where you are in Italy. That is nice.
But I agree with you. Where I was thinking about it a lot, and I was like, I feel like just the biggest difference is that there are scripts that take the time to evoke essence and feeling, and there are scripts that just tell you what's happening. Yeah. And I just felt like, and again, it's not like a script means that you have to do that. It's just that it stands out so much when a writer takes the time to do that. And that to me is the epitome of like top tier craft, when you take the time to make the reading experience evoke real emotions. Mm-hmm. And I just felt void of that almost the entire read. Whereas in the movie, I did feel more drawn in by the gorgeous cinematography, the performances. I really did think that Timothy brought something to Elio that was not on the page. Like he's so much more of a pursuer in the movie than in the script. In the script, you almost feel by the time he says what he does to Oliver near the statue, when he kind of like essentially, insinuates that he hasn't had sex and that he wants to with Oliver, like in the script, it almost feels out of left field. Whereas in the movie at that point, like, again, still wish it was slightly different dialogue, but nonetheless, like you feel Elio trying to figure it all out. And then by the time the dam breaks, it breaks, which I really like. And I like that in certain ways that he is the pursuer, because there's no shame around it for him, which is really refreshing to watch. But the age thing is hard. And a lot of the dialogue they have, it's like they tried to remedy it by having like Oliver's dialogue always be like, we have to be good, I don't want to be bad. But it actually makes it almost worse, because it feels like, how truthful is he being? Is he just saying that so we can have a cleaner conscience about what happens between them? Mm-hmm. But all that being said, I had a far more visceral experience watching it. I felt more of what I needed to feel. I still think it felt a little flat for me, which surprises me because I'm such a yearn girl. I'm a yearn girl all day. And people really do quote this movie when they talk about yearning. And I just never felt the depth of that for myself. But again, I was like, this isn't necessarily like like something that I'm going to fully relate to deeply. But that's why I think it's interesting that you feel similarly.
Yeah. I mean, because just seeing it from, I don't know, my mindset these days, I just can't help but be creeped out. And then the whole thing of like, I do appreciate that they make Elio more of the aggressor and he's the one that's really like running this down. And Oliver's like pushing back, like, no, we can't do this because he's clearly feeling fucking gross about it. But then there's also the flip side of that is like the problematic messaging of being like, this like Lolita vibe, like he's so precocious. And like they even make a point of it saying like when they're describing like the etymology of the word apricot, it means precocious and like beyond their years. And like there's this whole thing of like Elio's just like, he knows everything. He's so smart for a 17-year-old. He's so precocious. He's so wise. So it's kind of like evening the playing field there where it's like that, okay, there's precocious kids, but they're still fucking kids.
True. And the thing you said that I think like EO'd me out the most was originally when we were first just like talking like briefly before this, you were like, Elio goes back to high school after this. And that made me feel kind of sick to my stomach because sometimes I feel like when like you hear 17 and 24 or 17 and 25, like you still don't love it, but it's kind of like, oh, but like when you put a specific visual in there, like Elio's going back to high school.
Yeah.
It makes it hit a little bit harder in the ick.
You have Oliver's character at one point when he's like towards the end where Elio's like, why didn't you ever give me any signs? We've wasted so many days. We've wasted so many weeks. And Oliver says, I did give you a sign. That day we were playing volleyball and I touched you. He's like, but the way that you reacted made me feel like I molested you. He literally says that. And then there's this whole thing of him saying like, oh, well, at least we haven't done anything yet to be ashamed of or to feel bad about. And like, we're supposed to think that like with the reveal that he has this girlfriend that's been on and off that then becomes his fiance at the end, when he calls to tell him, I feel like in retrospect, we're supposed to look at that dialogue and say that this was him struggling with the fact that he has a woman at home, but he's attracted to this boy. But then really it's like, you can't divorce the inappropriate age gap difference of him saying we haven't done anything to be ashamed about when you don't have any other context of someone at home.
Yeah.
You could have toed that line a little bit more had we known that he had a girlfriend at home. It's fucking weird.
I actually am so surprised that they didn't, for just the sake of like conflict and contrast, why they wouldn't have made him having a girlfriend at home like even 5% boosted would have made the whole thing have a different weight and a different focus point, because now it's like, it adds like just like a layer to the whole story that I'm actually it would have been so easy to weave that in just through very quick dialogue it would have just added a lot to me that I thought like, cause I never really considered that like the part of the reason he was saying those things was because he has this woman at home. I just thought it was because of either them acting gay,
there's also that element of it too of like we haven't done anything to be ashamed about because
but Oliver also kind of comes off like Oliver comes off like a gay man to me. Like he doesn't come off like someone who's struggling with his own sexuality. It feels more like he's struggling with the age to me.
Agreed.
But I don't know if that's just, again, like my interpretation of the performance.
I just don't think you'd put a line of dialogue in there where he says, I feel like I molested you. Like that's in the term okay, yeah, he's 17 and in Italy the age of consent's 14, whatever, throw that out. The term molest from an older man to a younger kid is a weird dialogue. Come for me in the comments. I don't care. For me, it's fucking weird, especially in a post-Epstein list world.
Yeah, fair enough.
It's just creepy.
Fair enough. Should we get just a page notes?
I think so. I have a question for you.
I might have an answer.
And this has been a thing that's been discussed about this movie before. I know. Do you think the dad was admitting to Elio that he is gay and never acted on it in that final monologue where he's talking to him on the couch?
When I first saw it many years ago, yes. I was like, oh, his dad is gay. And
because he's like, does mom know?
whatever.
And he says, I don't think so. And it's
this
very
time,
ambiguous.
I tried to see it from both perspectives, and I will say it's written in a way where it literally could be either.
It really could.
Literally could.
Which is interesting. I like that.
Yeah, I don't mind that it's not obvious. I actually was kind of like, that's a kind of a cool choice to not really like pin it down. The main thing I thought about was like on the page, the parents suggesting that they should go on a trip together felt a lot more pointed. It feels a tiny bit more thrown away in the movie. Like she's not like excited. She's more like, the boys should go together.
On the page, she's way more urging of it, and it makes me feel like
on the page it's weird.
Just gonna send your 17-year-old off
in the movie.
It
feels like a really like passive, almost like just like, oh yeah, like they should go have fun before he leaves, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So because
but that's also after the mom says to Elio that Oliver told me, I think he likes you a lot more than you like him. And he's like, how do you know? Well, he told me when? A long time ago. What?
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
And again, I'm going to qualify it again. Maybe I'm looking at this from too much of a 21st century American viewpoint. I will fully say that. And I probably am.
Yeah.
Like, different sentiments, there's different ages of consent. But again, I'll stop saying this, but it's still creepy to me.
I do think the main takeaway that you're meant to have is that the dad, at bare minimum, had some curiosity that he never fully acted on.
Yeah.
But I also thought it was interesting because I do feel like they kind of make a gentle point as to show that the parents seem to have a nice relationship.
They do.
That
even in the script, there's one moment where he pulls the mom over because he's filled with desire and they're clearly going to have sex.
So it's like, so I'm like, is it more of like, because I think when I first saw it, I was like, oh, like he's in a like marriage, like he's gay and he's with a woman. But then when you rewatch it, they really seem to have like a genuinely like sweet or whatever relationship. So I do think you're meant to feel that his dad is being honest, that he wanted to experience something similar and he got close, but he didn't allow himself to.
I think so too.
But I appreciated that it was actually quite well written in a way that it could be interpreted either way.
Yeah. The main theme of the movie definitely is desire. Across the board.
Yes.
That's,
And
this exploration of desire.
This is a note that I have for later, but that last scene with the dad is a great scene, but it would be infinitely better if it was shorter. Yeah. It is so long.
It's pretty long.
So long. And my favorite, I wrote it down, this is me skipping ahead. My favorite part of it was we rip out so much of ourselves to be cured of things faster, that we go bankrupt by the age of 30 and have less to offer each time we start with someone new.
Oof.
But to make yourself feel nothing so as not to feel anything, what a waste. It's probably the best dialogue of the entire film. It's fucking stunning. Yeah. It touches on a forever true statement. That is an eternal truth, what he is saying.
Yeah.
But it is buried by so much dialogue. His dad is like a chatterbox in this scene. And again, on one hand, fine, but when we're coming to the close of a film where we're really kind of settling into this thing, I just thought, like, why couldn't it have been like, and also, like, you and I talked about this briefly, like the like, you guys you're good, and like Oliver's good, and
Oliver's good, and you're good, and you're two good people that brought the best out of each other.
And,
like that's the sentiment of it.
What made me feel crazy about it is the parents never witness them being anything other than cordial.
Yeah.
No one sees them being anything other than cordial. We, the viewer, are the only one that sees that they have this like kind of dynamic, interesting passion for each other. No one else witnesses it. But we're being made to continuously think that everyone else can see what's going on between them in a way that makes me feel crazy, because you're like, we don't really see every scene that the parents are in with them. They're kind of like,
Yeah, because especially with the scene where the parents decide to let them go off on a trip together, and then that ending monologue with the dad, it's definitely leading us to be like, the parents saw, like, Elio is precocious and wise beyond his years, but when you're older, especially as a parent to someone, you see things that you can't see in your own experience. Like, someone more experienced sees that, but it just doesn't really land that way. It doesn't come off that way. It comes
too long.
It is too long, and it comes off more of them like co-signing this oddly inappropriate relationship.
I mean, you literally could have just put what I read.
Yeah.
He could have been
with a little bit of lead up to it.
With a little bit of lead up to it, that could have been it, and you would have been hit probably a little bit harder.
Yeah. The writer said that monologue in that scene is directly taken from the book and even condensed a little bit down from what it was in the book.
Interesting.
But yeah, I agree.
Anyway, we can go back up to like normal
page notes.
What's your first one?
Is on page 3.
Go for it.
I thought this was some nice action. I like that it's very to the point. It's almost dry in the way it's so to the point. It says, he enters the bathroom and the door that connects it to the other room is open. Oliver sleeps in the dim light of sunset. Elio, we're being called to dinner. No answer. Elio enters Oliver's room and reaches over to the bookshelf, takes a book from it, but then drops it on the floor. It makes a sharp clatter. Oliver is briskly awoken. I really liked a sharp clatter.
Yeah.
It's nice. I could immediately hear it in my mind.
And that's exactly what it is in the movie. Yeah. It's like that.
It is. It's very, and then Oliver is briskly awoken. It's nice.
It is nice.
It's nothing like OMG about it, but again, like I said, my initial assessment of the script, there's a lot of the script feels utilitarian. In certain ways, it really works, but then it also, like, when you have a whole script of just this, like, where there's not much voice and tone on the page, it starts to drag a little bit. It took me like 4 hours to read this script.
Oh, well, and you know me, I am known for being a quick reader.
A speedy.
That's a known fact about Carlie. She reads a script quick. I texted you and I was like, this took me 3 hours. Whew. That's unheard of for me.
That is, it's a 95-page script, babies.
And I was saying this to a client, by the way. I was like, I will forever think the whole page number thing is such bullshit because I have read so many 120, 100 whatever page scripts in an hour and a half.
It all comes down to formatting.
Formatting and pace, all of it. Yeah. Whereas like this, so much of this script, like I'm literally like, I put like page 9. I didn't even write all of it because I just said brutal. It's so many words, so many instructions with no feeling. I said it's breaking of rules in a way that feels frustrating and kind of pointless. I assume the writers this is one of the things you said. There's dialogue in the action. Yeah. And I think the reason they did that, it was to kind of point out the casual essence of the dialogue, meaning like this could be improv.
Yeah.
But like, I would almost prefer someone saying casual back, like it literally is in the middle of an enormous block of action. It says, in a pause, Oliver questions Elio about the piece that broke off. And then in bold, it says, who was it? Or is it yours? Do I know it? ... It sounded like ... Elio hit some notes, this or that. Like I feel crazy even reading that. Like it's so.
And we've seen this kind of thing. So the caveat that I will give for this is that this was a script that they knew that they were going to film. And this is like the second or third movie this season.
Dare I say, though, Hamnet also was, and that script did not rest into its haunches.
Hamnet.
We can't even talk about it.
But like with when Harry Met Sally, they have dialogue options, or they have like options, and they think like maybe they grab the salt shaker.
Maybe in a cool way.
It presented in there, and it's not done. It's done crisply and succinctly, and not in the middle of all the action is big block paragraphs.
Huge.
And then there's so many moments where they're speaking French or Italian, and the writer, instead of just putting in parenthetical at the top of the dialogue in Italian or in French, and then writing out the dialogue in English, he writes it all out in the language, and then in parenthetical underneath that writes the English. And then sometimes it's French at top, English in the middle, French at the bottom, and then English again in parentheticals. And so it's like...
it's hard to follow.
The friction on the page was substantial, and it ruined the vibe. Like if those elements had been streamlined, I probably could have liked the story and probably would have been more on board for it.
Honestly, I feel like this just, my brain just like went to like a zoom out for a second. Like maybe this is Daddy Do or Daddy Don't in the wild, but that feeling of like, you can't help the way a brain works. And this is something I think about a lot as like a reader when I have like a client or something, is like, I wish I could stay tuned for a full page of action descriptions. But I simply can't. And I'm working with the brain that I have. And even if I adore the writer, even if it's great, if it's over half a page of action description, and it's, by the way, this isn't some high-paced, like, cars,
when it's in
like,
block paragraphs,
like chase scene, like 2 car, whatever, even that's a lot. But I mean, like, that there are certain things that I feel like there's always a writer that's like, but I want to da. And it's like, you can do technically whatever the hell you want to do.
For sure.
But when we're talking about what engages someone versus what is off-putting and challenging when you're reading someone, these are just some of those things.
Yeah.
Being that all over the place with English and Italian and then English, but then parenthetical, and then going really, really long with your action, and then also putting dialogue in your action, but just making it bold. These are things that make the experience harder.
Yeah.
And part of our job as screenwriters is to make the job easier and evoke as much feeling as possible.
Yeah.
So part of the reason that like we bring these things up is because it's not that we like that these are the way that things feel for us. It's just that's what it is.
Yeah, I would say if you do read,
do you know what I mean? Like I just feel like I've met with a lot of writers that'll be like, well, why can't I just? And I'm like, you can. It's just about what do you want the reader to feel or experience.
You can, and also you also have to think about what's going to service your story in the best way. What's going to evoke the feeling on the page for the reader that you want to evoke. This formatting and this structuring isn't, in my opinion, isn't going to evoke it, and it didn't evoke it. In fact, it made me want this story to be done sooner. And then that frustration on the page with just the simple act of reading it made it harder for me to connect with the characters.
I agree.
And that's why the movie is is like a better experience. And that's so often is the case with certain scripts. But I think with this, if you did read this, I would say, really like listen to what we're saying and read this from the standpoint of like, this is someone who's breaking the rules. This man was in his 80s when he wrote the script. This is a man with a storied career already. Yeah. So I think there's a little bit of fuck it on the page here.
And that's important to note, I think.
That's an important context to keep in mind, that this is someone late in their career.
Yeah.
And that if you are a new writer, this is not what to do.
No.
If you're trying to get someone to read your spec script and feel that energy on the page, it ain't this. And if you're more naturally prone to writing big things of dialogue, I would say you need to read a lot more scripts, because even a script that's as beautifully written as Brokeback Mountain, the action was too much. Yeah. There's too much big paragraphs and too much flower. That was more engagingly written with like the flowery prose on the page, but even that played to its detriment in certain ways. So like, exactly like you said, you can do what you want on the page, but
it's kind of like communication, right? It's like if your goal is to communicate really well with someone, there's certain rules you have to engage with. Mm-hmm. If you just want to say whatever the hell you want to say, you can, but it likely will not be as effective to the person you're trying to communicate with. Mm-hmm. It's like that where you're like, for sure, you can do whatever you want.
If you're about to say a tough truth to someone, you could be completely just blunt about it and not care.
I don't give a
but that's going to elicit a strong and probably unwanted reaction from someone if you are actually trying to get through. Whether there's different ways.
And all a script is really is trying to get through to someone. It's you're trying to and create the film in the head. And this was one of those where even despite having seen the movie before I read it, I was struggling to connect.
Yeah, one thing I kept in mind when I wrote my found footage Sasquatch story is that because so much of it is action. Because you're, talking from this first person perspective, and it's like a horror thriller. So like there's so much that has to happen on the page that I was really cognizant to break up. Like there's not much action that is more than maybe 3 or 4 lines.
You utilize the page really
and even
well.
Then it's like, when there is a lot of action, I tried to keep it to 1 to 2 sentences, break it up. But then when it is a whole page, if there's certain like sound cues or something, I liked to play with the formatting of it where like you're placing things in unexpected places. That way it engages your eye on the page. and it's more evocative. So I think there's ways to play with, if you're a bit longer in your action, play with how it looks on the page, because that will set tone and energy on the page for you in ways that will really help your story, and it'll help you distinguish yourself as a writer.
And also, the last thing I'll say about this is challenge yourself to say it with less.
Yeah.
9 times out of 10, when you challenge yourself to say it with less, you will take a break from writing and you'll come back and you'll be like, oh my God, like that totally works. Like, I don't know why I was being so precious about needing to say it in 2 lines when I
read about time and see how a fucking master can do it. Truly. Because that fucking script, babies, my God. They tell you so much with so little.
Oh my God.
It is
go reread it again.
Stunning.
Okay, what's your next page note?
Page 8.
Go ahead.
This is a moment that I enjoyed the seeds of yearning that they're placing in the action here. There's little micro moments between Oliver and Elio when they are getting up to leave the cafe in Crema. And Elio gets on his bike and he kind of stumbles, and Oliver places his hand on his shoulder. And it's this like yearn moment. And I liked the way it was on the page, because like it kind of it just elicits like, you know, like that feeling of, especially when you're younger and you have these feelings for someone, especially in the context of like homosexual feelings, where it's like, it's this forbidden thing and you're like, ooh, shit, am I feeling this way? But then like when you get a crumb of like physical touch from someone, it's like, oh. But anyway, this is how it's written on the page. And I just, there are a lot of kind of like micro yearn moments that I enjoyed. It says, Oliver takes this in, his eyes hidden by dark sunglasses as he gathers up his things, cutting their conversation off. They silently reclaim their bikes. Oliver seems to be miles away, but as Elio is getting on his bike, he loses balance for a moment, and Oliver puts his arm around Elio's shoulder, steadying him. He then speeds off, saying later, leaving Elio on his own. Again, now that I'm reading it out of context of the page, that is kind of banal. Like, just reading that right there, it's kind of, okay. In the context of like leading up to that moment, it did kind of, it elicited this kind of like, ooh, moment in me. But I guess so much of this is dependent upon the lead up to it. Cause like, it's difficult to take, what I'm realizing now is difficult to take bits and pieces of the story out of it, because the writing is, again, it's so utilitarian.
I in fact, I'm looking at my next note and I'm like trying to figure out like, yeah, it is. That's really interesting to think about.
Yeah. On page 11, I have, this is action that's giving us way too much. I said, none of the feeling of this, what I'm about to read, is earned. And it doesn't even really round out Oliver's character. I would have preferred to see Oliver's natural ability to assimilate with the culture to be demonstrated by his actions and words than to see the townsfolk's reaction to him. This is when he's dancing, I'm pretty sure. It says, Oliver winks. Elio pulls up a chair and sits, spectating. The cards are dealt. Oh no, this is when Oliver and Elio go into town.
Yes, and I do love this.
There's this little bar and they're playing poker there, and Oliver already knows all the guys there playing poker.
Yeah, which I
and Elio's like, how do you even know about this place? Because it's like a locals only place. It says, Oliver winks. Elio pulls up a chair and sits, spectating. The cards are dealt. Oliver, accepted at once, treats his fellow players as equals. Despite being a rich American intellectual, a guest at the villa of one of the area's richest men, he has the common touch. We don't need any of that. Enough. He has the common touch. We're seeing him sit down and immediately being
I love that
accepted by.
Yeah. I love that scene in the movie because it does give you that feeling of like how some people have an it factor about
Oliver
them.
has this charm. And they even say that he has this movie star quality. Like there's one moment where they say he's sitting there just with a glass of water. And even in that moment, he's iconic.
Yeah. And I thought that in the movie, you get to see through Elio being like, how do you?
And Elio's so impressed. Like the way he sits down, he's like,
and it doesn't feel like performance. It's just like that's just who he is. Like he just doesn't even really respond to Elio. He's just like in it, which I did like because it allowed you to have a moment of, again, kind of like seeing him through Elio's eyes when you're young and you're like, oh my God, like not only do I find him charming, everyone finds him charming, which is really delicious.
Good point. Yeah. Also, that like another layer of desire, almost like an envy of like,
oh my God.
Elio at so many times kind of comes off as being aloof in a certain way because he feels, they never say this, but he feels a bit anxious. Do you know what I mean? Where Elio feels a little bit like a fish out of water, but then at other moments he is kind of cool and collected.
Yeah. But in fact, there's moments where he's very calm and collected. Yeah. Like almost not cocky, but because it feels like an overcompensation of that age.
Yeah.
But they're like, the way he pursues Oliver when they go off to like his special spot is like, it doesn't read the same on the page.
Because when they're having that scene by the statues where he's saying essentially like, I've never had sex, but I want to have sex with you for the first time. Right before that, it's his mom or his dad that says to him, say what you got to say pretty much. Right? Like, don't like say what you need to say because you don't like want to regret not saying something and being upfront, which is another thing that's kind of leading us to see that the parents know that he has attraction to him that Elio is not even fully comprehending.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. But I will say on the page, I did, and in the script, I did like that moment where I think I have a note of it.
It's a smart moment because there's more than one thing going on at once.
And there's a lot to infer from it. Like you could take it so many different ways of what Elio's actually trying to say.
Totally.
What's your next one?
I just said page 10. I like this. I wish it was more consistently written like this. It says Elio begins to play the Bach in its original form. Oliver, who had turned away, comes back to the door. Elio says softly over his playing, it's young Bach. He dedicated it to his brother. He plays it beautifully as if sending it to Oliver as a gift. Again, like...
I like that.
Beautiful and like simplified with a little bit of voice and a little bit of that I just was like, oh, I just wish there was more of this. I felt like I had to like mine it out a little bit. But my next note was I hate the use of the narrator. It's a completely unnecessary element. And obviously they agree.
They take it out
because
completely.
it is so random. It is so random in the script. It does nothing.
Does nothing.
Other than it feels like it's a further attempt to make you go, these boys are in love. And it makes you feel less that way because you're like, let me see that they're in love. Let me feel that they're in love and stop telling me that they are.
Yeah. It's funny because the writer put that into this script. And at one point it was kind of decided that Luca and James Ivory would co-direct together. And, but then that didn't happen because some people say that it's because they wanted to free up the budget because James is, he's this storied director with all these like hits and Oscars and stuff like that under his belt. So it's to free up the budget for the movie. But then there's a few different interviews with Luca that I saw where he was saying like how he hates when there's like voiceover or narrators in movies. He thinks it's cheap and that it's unearned. And I just thought it was a funny thing to specifically say when like there's a narrator that was in the script that they took out. But it also like the book, I read a small synopsis of the book, and the book is told in retrospect by 40-year-old Elio. Elio's like recounting in his memories the story of them. And like there's this whole lead up, and then like the story, like after Oliver calls Elio and tells him I'm getting married, it like cuts to however many years later, and Elio is older now and he goes out to visit Oliver in New York or something, but he still won't see Oliver's family because he's still jealous because at that point, like he's obviously married and has 2 kids, and there's still this like thing between them. But Elio just has this like unrequited love for Oliver that's still there. But so in that context, like, I'd see how from the book being that way, why you would maybe want to add a narrator into a story like this. Yeah, just because. I don't know. It feels very like 90s in a way.
Yeah, that's true.
But it's completely unnecessary. And then like the slip up of like I'm going to chalk it up to the fact that like, again, this was seasoned filmmaker who knew that they were going to be shooting this. But on page 5 and page 11, the narrator literally repeats the same thing. Just on page 11, there's even more in the dialogue.
It did make me feel a little crazy.
Bizarre. Also, so on page 21, there was a lot of moments that this is another moment of, and this is throughout the script too, that added friction on the page that didn't provide tone. It made it harder to read. It was this almost pretentious use of Italian words. Like I'm probably gonna butcher this, but it's an Italian word that says bocciarale.
I can promise you did butcher that.
And yes, absolutely. It means hallway. It's like a central corridor that connects this, and it's like obviously an Italian architectural term. But for the sake of the story, you could have just said hallway.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of moments like that where he uses these proper Italian words where I'm just like, it feels a little overly academic in a way that I'm just like,
yeah,
okay, but then, do you? That is a moment that if the rest of the script had been like, I would have overlooked that. But in terms of these other like friction points, I was like, I wanted to point that out to say like, you can flex your intellectual muscles on the page, but do so with a lot of intention.
Yes.
And in a way that heightens the storytelling and makes us feel like, because there's a way that you could do that where I'd be like, ooh, I want to go Google this and see what that word means. Instead, I was doing this to be like, what the fuck even is that?
I just think there was just too many elements. There was just too many elements going on that it made things like that feel more frustrating than intriguing.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of it made you zoom out instead of in, and that's just not the vibe.
I agree. What's your next?
38.
Okay, I have one on just pages 24 to 28. We already touched on this, but it is the scene where Elio and Oliver are going to get in the car to go to Lake Garda. No, that might not be the lake. They're going to a lake to see this statue being brought up from the bottom of the lake because his dad is like a historian or whatever. And so Elio is there. And so Chiara, the sister of Marza is Elio's like little boo thing. And then Chiara is Marza's older sister who is all about Oliver. And she rides up and she's like, oh, is Oliver here, to Elio? And he's like, oh, he is. And he's like, well, he's quite attractive, isn't he? And Elio's doing this thing where I feel, to me, it comes off as like he's trying to garner both of their attention to each other, but at the same time do this thing of like, I'll set you guys up because it kind of it gets the heat off of me because I'm having feelings that I'm not being able to reckon with.
Yeah.
So I'm going to like play matchmaker for
it's very childlike.
It is. And he's attacking it from like multiple points by doing these things. And then when he goes to the car, Oliver comes out and he's talking to Chiara and he's like, oh, I'll see you later or whatever. He gives her a kiss on the cheek. She rides away. And then Elio starts talking to Oliver about Chiara and like, oh yeah, I saw her once in a bathing suit. She has an amazing body and da-da-da. And then Oliver straight up calls him out and he's like, I like to go it alone, like if you don't mind or whatever. And they're like, stop playing like the nice host. And I really liked that dance on the page. That was one of my favorite elements.
Me too. I agree.
We already talked about this, but I really, really liked that because it does show so much of Elio's age. But then there's just so many layers to someone doing that, knowing that they have these feelings for this person that work really nicely.
And I also thought it was kind of a little strange how annoyed Oliver gets by it. Like he could have so easily been charmed by it or just like it's whatever by it, but like, he doesn't it.
I'm having these feelings that you don't fully know about and like stop trying to push it in my face because I'm, dealing with the moral implications of being attracted to a young boy. But they won't say that. My next is on page 34. I said the scene where Elio... Wait, did you have one before that?
No, 38.
I said the scene where Elio sneaks into Oliver's room and goes through his things is so sensual, fevered, and urgent.
Yeah.
It feels like a culmination for Elio. This is a big moment. He's finally accepted his infatuation with Oliver, unable to constrain himself any longer. This moment feels earned on the page. It feels exuberant and very lush. So this is the scene where he goes into Oliver's room and he's like looking at his clothing and he picks up his bathing suit.
Yeah.
And there are shades of my coming out script.
I thought that.
I never fucking realized, especially the red swimsuit and things like.
Babe, I actually thought that when I watched
and because
it this time.
those swimsuit elements in that script are direct from my life. Wow. Like that is autobiographical.
Woof.
Like literally. And so that's watching it again and seeing it in here. I was like, oh, that's another point of entry for me as a viewer of like connecting with Elio. Like I see so much of myself in that character. It's insane. My younger self.
I literally like, tripped for a second because I thought of your script. I was like, oh my God.
Insane. It was actually crazy, but this is how it's written on the page. It's page 34. It says, interior Oliver's room, Perlman Villa day. He goes to the little pile of laundry and examines it, sees the folded boxer shorts or jockey, passes his fingertips over them, then goes to the closet. Hanging on a hook is the red bathing suit. He picks it up. It's dry and brings it to his face. He rubs his face inside it, smelling it, looks inside of it as if searching for something, kisses every inch of it, licks the inside of the support as if trying to find a taste of Oliver. Elio quickly slips out of his own bathing suit and pulls on Oliver's. He undoes Oliver's bed and gets into it, putting the pillow over his face and kissing it savagely, smelling it again and again, searching for Oliver's scent, then wraps his bare legs around it. Suddenly, we hear the sound of bicycle approaching. He goes to look out the window. He can just partly see Oliver leaving his bike by the wall and coming into the villa. Elio removes Oliver's trunks and tidies up the bed, exiting the room.
He doesn't put the trunks on in the movie, though, right? He just puts over his face.
He puts over his face, which I like that choice because it's so much weirder.
It's so much weirder.
And almost like it kind of plays into this, like he's lost all constraint over himself in this moment, and he's fully giving into this desire.
Totally.
And that on the page and that in the movie, I fucking love.
And I got to give it to Timothy because when I read it, I had that thought where I'm like, is this in the movie? And like, if so, that is not an easy thing to perform in a way that is you can watch without feeling too any one way. You got to feel a lot of things, but also not get too like, and I thought that he really performed it so well, where it actually felt slightly less weird in how he did it. Mm-hmm. And it's still
almost a little bit comical too.
Yeah. There's like a little
less sensual and more like curious.
It's definitely less sensual. It's definitely more curious and kind of like fevered a little.
Exactly.
But still, I was just going to say fevered, but tempered, which is a not so two words to use. But like he lands it well where you believe. Yeah. Because it's very interesting to read on the page, but it's a little hard to believe how that a real person can do it in a way that doesn't make you totally get taken out. And they really found the balance where like you just kind of feel like he's like so overcome with this, like, I'm in this moment and I can do this and I'm going to do it and it's weird and I don't care. And then it just works.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's great because just all the implications of it being a bathing suit and like, it works really nicely for his budding.
They make like kind of a meal out of the swimsuits in the script where they're like the orange trunks.
They do. I feel like that has to come from the book.
Yeah, because then in the movie they
wears
just
like
do
a different color for his different moods.
They just do a sequence of showing his different colored trunks, which I loved.
I did. I love that too. And I actually liked the way that was written in the script too. I didn't make a note of it, but in the script it says still lifes. And it's all these different images of his different bathing suits drying on the.
They had to go into detail about what mood he was in when he wore each one. It was like it took you out a little bit. It feels very book.
We don't ever see that translate to the scenes, or it's just this little moment that's in the script that it's like. In fact,
we almost never see any mood shift in Oliver.
No,
he's very consistent. Oliver all the time.
Uh-huh.
So that alone wouldn't. Page 38, I liked. A little long-winded, but again, I felt like anytime there was something that had a little flavor to it or a little voice to it, I kind of like zoned in like a moth to a flame. It said, now that he spilled the beans at last, Elio takes on the laid-back, mildly exasperated air which the felon has once he surrendered to the police where he confessed how he robbed the store. It's a little long, but it had... Yeah. It had some flavor and it stuck out because it felt really nice to read something with a little extra zhuzh.
Agreed. And Script Babies, this is when they are, we've talked about this scene now a couple times, when they are by this World War I memorial and Elio admits to Oliver without actually admitting it, that he's never had sex and wants to have sex with him. And that's how it's described after he admits that he kind of like has this. Because I had that exact same note. I loved the way that was written.
Me too. Okay, but here's like, again, I didn't get from what he says to him that I got that he's never had sex before. Yeah. But I didn't get for sure that he was saying, I want to have sex with you. It was just, like he's interested in him in one way or another. Yeah. But like, I thought this was interesting. Like page 39, it says, Elio unfazed. Does this mean we're on speaking terms, but not really? This is after he says all that. Mm-hmm. And it says, Oliver thinks about this. And then Oliver goes, look, we can't talk about such things. We really can't. And I won't, why? Because he's too young? Like, because they kind of play that line between, is it because it's gay or is it because he's too young?
It's both, I think.
I think it's both, but like, again,
I would have liked a little bit of more of an indication one way or another, though.
Yes.
Just even a tiny, tiny shade.
Tiny.
That way I can direct my feelings appropriately.
Yes.
Because in that context, when it's so ambiguous, I'm just superimposing the creep of the age difference on top of it. Because if it had leaned more with him struggling with homosexuality, I actually could have empathized with that more.
Same.
Instead of him just being, oh, I'm into this younger guy and it makes me feel weird. The thing that indicated to me that he was saying that he wanted to have sex with him was when he says, Oliver says, because Elio's like, oh no, it's World War I. You'd have to be at least 80 years old to know anyone there. And he says that Oliver says, is there anything you don't know? I've never heard of the Battle of Piave. Elio says, I know nothing, Oliver. Nothing, just nothing. Oliver says, you know more than anyone around here, Elio. If you only knew how little I know about the things that really matter. Oliver, what things that matter? Elio looks him straight in the eye for once, summoning up his courage. Elio, you know what things. By now, you of all people should know. Silence. Oliver, why are you telling me all this? Elio, because I thought you should know. Oliver, because you thought I should know. Elio, because I want you to know. Because there's no one else I can say this to but you. That is where, like, it's so, like, it feels very leading. Like, again, very ambiguous, but him saying, like, you, like, by now, you of all people should know.
Yeah. Like, but even still, though, up until that point, you of all people should know.
And then, like, Oliver says, are you saying what I think you're saying? And Elio says yes. But then it is.
But think about everything.
It does provide friction because it's too much ambiguity. Where like we saw beautiful ambiguity in Begonia.
Yes.
Where it's the ambiguity is part of the story and it's part of the intrigue. Whereas here it's confusing.
This would have made you think that they had a moment.
Yes, exactly. It does come out of nowhere.
Point.
Yes,
is it comes out of nowhere.
Where he's like all of a sudden,
you
like,
of all people should. And what are you talking about?
And Oliver's able to read through these lines when they've been almost cold to each other up until this whole point. They've been ships in the fucking night, obviously because they're uncomfortable by their feelings with each other. Because later on he says, oh, I liked you from day one, Elio. And Elio was like, oh, well, same. Why didn't you tell me? Blah, blah, blah.
But I just felt like, again, it could have so easily been remedied by like a little bit more of like a moment, like
a moment of urine in the kitchen. Like this is not this. But like one of those, like this script's version of one of those moments of like someone drops something, they both go to pick it up, their hands touch.
I was literally gonna say.
Not that, because that's so
agreed
stereotypical, but some moment, that
feels like
a brush of an arm against them or something like, up until now we had the volleyball moment where he touches his shoulder, but that doesn't really indicate like for me. No, Elio being uncomfortable with that because it's kind of bringing his desire to the forefront. That played off for me for Elio.
Agreed.
But for Oliver, it just that moment wasn't enough for me to then justify this kind of reveal of like, oh, it's all coming. It's all coming to the surface.
Is that like? The dialogue in itself isn't the issue. It's that it's indicating something we never get to see. Yes, so it feels out of nowhere. Whereas if we had that moment where, again, maybe not reaching for the same thing, but something that evokes that same feeling, a brush of the arm, fine. Something that makes it go, okay, we get why they both have a quick understanding of the subtext of this. Whereas when I was watching it, I was like, what are you guys talking about?
Yeah. Well, because this is 4 pages after the bathing suit scene. So Elio saying this, the context is fully there for what he's saying to him.
For Elio, yeah.
Yeah. Oliver is where it doesn't fully align. In the way that what they're trying to achieve with this scene, it could have been more poignant.
Elio saying you of all people should know doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Elio finally expressing how he feels because we've seen a private moment for Elio is different, but it felt like the moment needed to acknowledge that.
Like, it'd be interesting if Oliver had seen Elio, maybe not the full moment with the bathing suit, but seen him either putting his bathing suit away or something through a crack in the door that Elio doesn't know that. If we had seen a moment of Oliver witnessing this, then it would that would load this scene so much more because he would be able to see fully. Obviously reading in between the lines here.
Agreed.
Just like peppering in a little bit more.
Agreed.
A little bit more.
Little bit more. My next one's page 41.
My next and last is pages 60 to 61. So take it away.
So I said page 41. Ugh, no. Too much. This is what it says. In the silence of the moment, Elio stares back. It is the first time Elio has dared to stare back at Oliver openly. Before this moment, he's always cast a glaze, then looked away from Oliver's steely gaze. It's as if finally, Elio is finally saying to Oliver, this is who I am. This is who you are. This is what I want. He stares back with an, I dare you to kiss me gaze. Oh my goodness.
This is when they're in by the springs, right?
Yeah, page
I think
41,
when they're like laying in the grass on their way back from the after having their talk by the memorial. Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm like,
it's so leading. It's like you could word that and have that same feeling come through without having to tell us every single beat of it.
It's before they actually hook up, I think. It's right before. Yeah. But I just was like, again, it's not even like to shit on, like, it's not like the end of the world, but it's like, you don't need all of that. All you need is, Elio dares to stare back at Oliver openly. We don't need the before this moment he's always cast a glaze, then looked away. We don't actually need that because he's
very aloof.
Also,
on the
by
page.
you saying it's the first time Elio has held his gaze would indicate that he's never done that before because you just said it's the first time.
Yeah.
So then it makes me feel stupid as the reader that it's reiterated that before this he's always cast a glance, then looked away. And we use the word gaze multiple times, and I'm one of those things where I'm like, please mix up the words when you can. Yeah. But that's me being psycho. But then like it's as if Elio is finally saying, this is who I am, this is who you are. We don't need that. Like, let it be. In fact, it took me out of the moment. If you just let me be with them and not tell me I'm going to stare back at with you, I dare you to kiss me gaze. We also don't need that.
Yeah, because if you take that out and then all of a sudden we see them sitting up on one elbow looking at each other, then it's like, what's going to happen?
Exactly.
And in the movie, that scene is like, he
oh my God.
Straight up grabs his peen. Yes, and I'm like, oh my God.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
And I love a bulge grab.
I go for it. Page 44, I wrote, oy vey. This is not a novel. Without warning, Oliver's foot at once moves onto Elio's. Softly, gently, it begins a caressing motion, never holding still, but rubbing the arch of Elio's foot with the smooth round ball of Oliver's heel, holding Elio's foot in place. The caresses are sometimes tied to the lady art historian's more ludicrous comments in Italian, Oliver's way of commenting on the pair. But it's also telling Elio that this is strictly between the two of them, and it is a return to the intimacy of their secret kisses on the grass. Oh my goodness.
Enough. And they take the footsie completely out in the movie.
They take the footsie completely out, other than he rubs like his foot later, but which is, I love that.
Also, the toe popping, I forgot that was in there.
Yeah.
That's in my script too, because that was done to me. That's also autobiographical. It's actually, it made me feel crazy reading and watching this. I was like, what the fuck? The parallels?
Crazy.
Like, no wonder I was bawling my eyes out when the first time I saw it.
I mean, for real.
What the fuck?
But like, to me, again, someone like, it's not the end of the world, but it's like, it really makes you feel like an idiot as the reader, where you're like,
it does.
I don't need this many details about how and when they're caressing feet and reminding us that it returns us to the intimacy of their secret kisses on the grass that happened 3 pages ago.
Tell me that he slides his foot, like the little bit at the beginning of that, like the soft foot, like massaging his foot, whatever. Okay, cool. But then let's cut away from there.
You could literally say, you could reference that and say, it's a return to the intimacy they've shared.
Yeah. Yeah.
But when when you're doing this so frequently, it makes me at the view, like as the reader, be like, so you don't trust me, essentially.
You're holding my hand a little bit too much.
A little bit too much.
Yeah, and it's not so beautifully written on the page that like you can give it a pass. Like they're like the moments in Brokeback that are so beautifully written where it's like, this is too much. I don't need to know all this, but it's undeniably gorgeous. So like I do enjoy reading it.
I literally wrote, why is Marcia okay with Elio being a bit of a fuckboy?
Yeah.
I just said because they never insinuate her knowing his feelings for Oliver, which would have made all of it differently.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's it for my script note.
My last script note is page 60 to 61, and it is a fun formatting alert. Fun formatting alert. It is.
I think next season we're gonna need to get a
sound cue,
even though I do kind of love just hearing you do it.
It's at the bottom of 60 into the top of 61, and Elio is writing a note to Oliver where he's like, please don't avoid me, it kills me. He's writing a note, he's like, stupid, and he like crumples it up and writing another note. But the way it's formatted on the page is that the text of the letter is put where the dialogue would be. And so like here's how it says interior, Elio's bedroom, Perlman Villa, dawn. Later, it is now dawn. Elio is in his room sitting naked at his desk. His small lamp is on. He takes up a school notebook and tears out a page. He begins writing the note to Oliver. Then where the dialogue would be, it says, please don't avoid me. He crumples that up. Please don't avoid me, it kills me. He crumples that up too and writes, your silence is killing me. He says it to himself out loud. Elio, way over the top. Then he writes, so you have this of a regular action line and then the writing of the note in the dialogue. And I thought it was nice because it was just formatted nicely, add a little bit of energy on the page because he's writing it, crumpling it, writing it, crumple it. And I thought that was a fun way to execute that.
Yep.
And if there had been a little bit more fun formatting like that, I think it would have served the story a lot better.
We agree.
But yeah, that's my last.
As far as the movie notes, the main thought that I had, and you and I mentioned this, was like the movie improves upon the dialogue quite a bit.
It's leaps and bounds.
But what's interesting is a lot of times it is actually subtle changes, but it lands so much. It feels as if, and who knows, but it feels as if the director was like, just make it yours a little bit. Like it's just a lot more natural.
It is.
Because there was a couple times I pulled the script up to the movie, and again, I was like, oh, this isn't that different. It just is just different enough to make it feel natural. Better. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And they restructure so many of the scenes, and it impacts the exposition of like, in just like the flow of the storytelling. That was another thing that was really, really well done. Because you have certain, like on the page, there's whole scenes that instead of being shown as a scene on the page are then like, you have the same dialogue as what's on the page, but then it's used as voiceover over different images.
Yeah.
And it just really, it sets more of a tone, and yeah, it makes it a more enjoyable experience. I loved when Elio mocks Oliver when he suggests they go to town, and he's like, unless you have more important things to do. And Elio goes, unless you have more important things to do. I really liked that moment. And I was like, I wonder if that was improv or not, but it was a fun little thing.
I said, I feel Oliver and Elio, I feel their bond so much more in the film. And I think I really would use the word bond in the sense that, like, from the moment they meet in the movie, they have a bond. Yeah. Like, it's very subtle at first, but like they feel like they're getting to know each other. We see, and a lot, but mostly privately, non-sexually, just like privately, he's looking at his music while Oliver's swimming, all these different things. Like, whereas for some reason in the script, it felt like they were barely ever around each other and they barely ever spoke. Yeah. So when all this came to a head, I was like, huh? Whereas in the movie, it did feel so much more earned, that you felt like a thing, or not even earned, because I know this might sound contradictory to what I was saying about that dialogue part. I guess my point is that like they're around each other. They're two people that are getting to know each other. I wouldn't say before Elio kind of does his confession, that you would immediately know that there was a mutual thing.
Yeah.
But they are two people that are like spending time together and getting to know each other. Whereas it sounds so weird to say that, but in the script, I really felt like it was Elio always like bird's eye watching Oliver.
Yeah.
Even if that's not exactly what was on the page, that's how it kept feeling. It kept feeling like Elio was like very alone in his experience.
Yeah,
and
I felt like they're never in the same room together.
Yes, whereas the movie, it was like it just felt a more believable build up, at least on Elio's side, where, you know.
Yeah, I agree. The way Timothy decided to smoke the cigarettes took me out. It was so actor. I can't. I was like, that's Timothy Chalamet right there. That's not Elio. That's Timothy. And then like he does this thing where he like slides through like dancing through like
that is
certain things. Where I was like,
Timothy.
That's Timothy Chalamet right there. Which like fine, whatever. That's kind of a stupid gripe for me to have.
No, but it took me out a little bit too.
Took me out where I was like,
yeah,
it feels a little too modern.
It didn't
but
really feel like in line with how he is. Yeah, for sure.
I think so. Another one of my biggest gripes for the movie is that I think their dynamic could have worked better for me if Armie Hammer was able to provide the depth necessary for the role. I think he was very surface level with his portrayal of Oliver. He's handsome, but it's also just kind of like he was good enough.
His
but
handsomeness
Timothy
does the
is
heavy
acting
lifting.
Circles around him in a lot of the scenes.
Truly.
But Armie's best scene, in my opinion, and it's not even really a scene, it's a look that he gives him at the very end when Oliver and Elio are parting and Oliver gets on the train and Elio is sitting there watching him and like the door shuts and Oliver does a scene where he like looks over his shoulder at him and there's this like really layered look on his face. It's like guilt and sadness and just like, and then he like almost like it's just a small glance and he looks forward like and like goes back behind this little part of the car where you can't see him anymore. And I thought that look was really nice.
Yeah.
Because there's so, like I said, there's so many layers to it.
Yeah.
Of like, what is this man feeling? It's all of it.
Yeah.
But there's a lot to parse through from that moment.
One of the things I said was, we kind of mentioned this before, but this word I actually think is the best. I said, Timothy plays Elio with a lot more friskiness. He's a lot friskier in the movie than in the script, where like, he just is like, he seems like he's a little bit more ownership of himself in the movie.
Yes.
Like, he kind of feels like a scared little boy in the script a lot. Whereas like in the movie, he kind of feels like once he knows what he wants, he kind of goes for it with reckless abandon.
Yeah.
And that is a lot more tempered in the script. It's
Agreed.
a lot more like private. And I also think too, like one of our favorite words, there is more tenderness in the movie.
Yes.
The movie really does have more tenderness than in the script. It really felt like, to me, lust, period. It was purely sexual. That they had a purely like lust-filled sexual relationship.
Yeah.
Whereas the movie, again, like I said, they do a better job of showing that they were getting to know each other as friends, and then this attraction's there, and then that leads you to go like, okay, yeah, there's something really there between them.
Yeah.
I wish I'd felt it more. I wish I'd felt like they had. And again, maybe that is like just Armie not playing like the full dimension and layers of it. Because it felt like so much of us needing to believe that there was more between them was the yearning, which was there, but still relatively minimal and mostly, well, this, okay.
Also, script babies, there's a cricket in here if you hear that.
The cricket said, hey. Ryan, you don't have to edit that out. How did you feel when Oliver says, are you going to hold what happened last night against me to Elio?
After they have sex?
Yeah.
I felt like this is a man grappling with feeling like a pedophile is what I felt like.
It really felt, there were some wording choices that added to.
Yeah.
That's what, because again, the age is already a little ew, but then a lot of the dialogue given to Oliver does not help.
Exactly. We're like, if I'm supposed to feel like this star-crossed lover thing,
but are we meant to feel like because he uses dialogue like that like we're supposed to feel for the fact that he's grappling with it?
Yeah, it's supposed to ameliorate his morally ambiguous decisions.
But you know what actually really icked me out in the movie was that, and you can tell that In the movie, they tone it down. Like in the script, like they make it a little bit more clear that Elio does feel a little bit strange the morning after.
Yeah.
The movie, it's like kind of a blip because then Elio's like, let's go swimming.
Oh, yeah.
Which is not in the
Elio
script.
definitely is very conflicted afterwards.
Yeah. Whereas in the movie, it barely. Like it's like to the point where like there is one moment of weird in the morning and then you keep seeing Oliver holding on to something. You don't see Elio really holding on to it. Which makes you feel like he's holding on to some guilt. Yeah. And then when they get back to the house and he quickly goes down on him.
Yeah.
First he has a very weird.
So
first
weird.
He's got a very strange like look on his face, Oliver. Then he like very quickly goes down on him and then goes, "You're hard again. That's promising," and smiles and then leaves.
Away.
It
feels so fucking manipulative. It's so predatory and weird.
Because there's a different version of this, by the way. Like, let's put this in context of heated rivalry. That, because their ages are the same, there's different like situations going on.
It's a sexy teasing kind of thing.
That could be sexy and teasing.
Yeah.
But in this,
it's fucking weird.
In this moment, when Oliver's already, Army's performance of it is that he is holding on to some serious guilt about what happened.
Yeah.
That his solution is, I'm going to go see if I can get him hard again and then bail.
It's so weird.
But again, I was like, I think we're supposed to feel like this is like, ooh, this like yearny tease. And I was more so like, it felt really, and then to follow up that with Elio following him to town, and he's like, "You have no idea how happy I am that we've slept together." I was like, this is making me feel so ick.
Yeah, and then in the script, Elio says to him in that moment, he's like, "Fuck me, Elio," because they've decided to call each other by their names,
right?
And they took that out for the movie, thank God. But it's just like it's weird. It's weird. It makes me feel weird, and I don't like it.
And it made me feel weird that it felt weird, but it feels weird. Like,
yeah.
And also it's like, I think part of it is like Army plays it very like, you have no idea. Like there's something like kind of even like a little icky about the way he delivered. It feels like very,
you know how happy I am that I'm getting away with this.
But he's still like he has this big, like almost like I'm trying to be innocent smile. Like, oh, I'm overjoyed.
I'm like, what? Like not... I'm like, what is it trying to say? What are we meant to be left with at the end of this film? Like, not every film has to have this big magnum opus to say, but it's a storytelling medium, and even in slice of life stories, there's takeaways. And with this, it's like, other than like an exploration of desire, I don't really know what the takeaway is. And maybe that is the takeaway.
Maybe, I was just going to say,
maybe that is.
If we decide that is the takeaway, I enjoy it more because we're not really pointing any fingers to anything other than we are quite literally just watching two people. Well, not two people, I guess the dad too. Like we are watching an exploration of desire that's manifest in all these different ways, some more appropriate than others, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
But it does land, and maybe it's the time that we're in, it makes it even harder knowing like with the Epstein and stuff, like it makes it a lot harder to just enjoy this as this like romp that these two have.
Yeah.
But
then at its core also, it is a coming of age story.
Absolutely. And there is messiness to that. There is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Where it's like, you certainly couldn't just be like, oh, well, you could not say that none of it happened against Elio's will, but Elio is still young enough with a person who continuously says that they know better, acting a certain way, and that leaves you feeling uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And I don't think most people who love this movie talk about the uncomfortable part. They like more the love story of it.
Exactly.
Which it just adds to the complexity. Because again, we're human and it's messy and it's all these things. I don't think it's like right or wrong to enjoy this film. I think it's like anything else.
Yeah.
You take from it what you want, but I think our like barrier of entry was that we were feeling kind of weird.
I also just can't divorce myself from my own lived experience of being freshly 18, being pursued by a 24-year-old, and it was completely consensual. I wanted it, but there was all these. So this is a guy that had been our side tangent. This is a guy who was like my brother's best friend at the time, and I had known him for years up until this point. And when I was 17, the summer before this happened, I always had the biggest crush on this guy. I was so obsessed with him. And at 17 is when I finally started to like accept and not accept. I was realizing that I was gay and it was freaking me the fuck out. But also the desire and the hormones at that age are so strong that like I, was becoming okay with wanting that, with like feeling that yearning. And there were all these like weird little moments where like, I remember one time the summer before, it was this, we were all in the pool hanging out, whatever. And like he and my brother would always come, I was living in Camarillo at the time. And he and my brother would always come up on the weekends and we'd hang out. And there was one time we were in the pool. I decided I wanted to like go inside, have a little daytime, like snooze. So I go into my room and I'm still in my bathing suit and I'm like wrapped up in a towel and I lay on my bed and I was like laying on my side. And this guy, everyone else is still outside, after a while comes into my room and just lays down in bed and starts spooning me. And I remember in that moment being 17 and feeling like this flush of like desire and like, oh my God. And also like nervous, like anxious, like, oh my God, I'm going to barf. But at the same time, like, oh my God, please take this further. Wanting it so bad. So like that, there was all these weird moments with this guy, then leading up to this point where like, then we got drunk, things happened. And I totally lost my mind from just like reeling from what happened. And like, oh my God, this confirms that I'm gay. And like, it was a whole thing. And so in that moment, I struggle with that so much of feeling like, did I cause this? Like, what have I brought upon myself? Because it was consensual at the end of the day. But then there's this, what I've come to as being someone who is now 37 years old and looking back on that dynamic, even when I was 24, I would have never pursued a 17 or 18-year-old ever. And the power dynamic there of him going after me that way is fucking inappropriate. And that's all I can be left with in this moment is that like, yeah, Timothy pursues it, it's consensual, but that doesn't mean it's okay. And so it's like hard for me, like my emotional into this story is like, so.
I mean, that's fair. That's totally fair because you have a literal lived in version of it.
Yeah. But then like this whole thing of like him being so precocious of going after it, I feel like it's meant to make us be okay with it more so than we should be. But yeah, and again, like I don't like, none of that is really built into the story either though. Like those layers of being someone, like maybe it is in the book of him looking back on it. I don't know. But I think that there is a very compelling story here that, who knows, maybe one day we'll get another remake of it, but this is a pretty beloved movie. It's like a cult hit in a lot of ways. It was also,
which is why I think you and I were both a little bit surprised by like our experience with it this time.
I was completely surprised.
Yeah.
When I was reading the story and I got halfway through and I was like, I don't like this. I was so excited to read this script because I was like, I'm gonna love this.
Yes. I know. It's so interesting.
Just no need. No.
Yeah. I don't have a daddy do, and that's not even to be dramatic. I just don't force it. And I felt like I was forcing it, so I didn't. Do you have a daddy do?
I have one daddy do. It's just sprinkle the seeds of yearning throughout your action. I see one thing that this script excels at is placing micro moments of yearning into the action. It helps place us within Elio's viewpoint, highlighting various moments of sensuality without being completely overt, thus building a sense of intrigue and eroticism right on the page. Like on page 13, when it reads, the two boys are playing against the sisters now. Elio's view of the players and of the ball in the air over their heads is often obscured by Oliver's muscular back, moving in closer from the side. Sometimes they collide, trip, fall into a heap. The girls shout rudely in Italian. Elio goes back to the table under the lime trees and sits in the shade, far from the others. He is inadvertently rubbing the spot that Oliver had massaged at the base of his neck with his free hand.
Yes, I love that. Yeah, I
love that. So that moment of like rubbing the spot where the person touched you, that is
gorgeous.
Yeah, it works really nicely.
I agree. And I'm glad you read that because I do actually love that.
There are a few different, like there's another one on page 35 when Oliver and Elio decide to ride into town together. It says, Elio puts down his fountain pen, closes his scorebook, and in doing so knocks a half-full glass of lemonade onto the grass. It doesn't break. Oliver, who is close by, comes over, picks it up, and puts it back where it was. Elio, you didn't have to do that. creating a little pause before replying for emphasis. Oliver, I wanted to.
Yeah.
Loved that.
Absolutely.
Love that. It's a small little moment. And
maybe that's what's frustrating is that he was clearly capable of these moments. It just felt like they were so muddled with all these other things, which is so interesting because those are really great examples.
Well, you can't be an untalented filmmaker or storyteller and make Remains of the Day. You just can't. You just can't.
Right.
So like we've, pointed out what didn't work for us in the story, but I do just want to iterate again that none of this is shitting on James Ivory.
No.
As a storyteller, I just don't think that this is the best execution of this story.
Yeah.
Or the best example of his ability to write a story.
What's your daddy don't?
I have 2 daddy don'ts. Daddy don't number 1, daddy don't break the expectations of your reader without intention. The screenplay breaks the rules, but in ways that play to the story's detriment, calling dialogue into action, throwing in multiple characters that we rarely ever see again, a completely unnecessary narrator, the list could go on. When subverting screenwriting norms, it's important to keep in mind the impact it has upon your reader. When you're reading a script, your mind is prepared to go along for the ride within the pre-established boundaries of the medium. By breaking away from those expectations, you can either transcend the medium or reinforce why the rules are so necessary to follow. This script falls into the latter category. When rules are broken in ways that don't heighten storytelling, it creates friction on the page and takes you out of the story instead of showcasing what a screenplay can be when you look beyond the barriers of convention. It's crucial that writers find their voice and establish their own narrative flair, but there's a fine line between taking artistic liberties and completely ignoring what makes a screenplay a screenplay. And then daddy do number 2. Daddy don't number 2, daddy don't put the translated dialogue in parentheses. There's a lot of moments when characters speak in Italian or French, but the way it's handled on the page created friction for me as a reader. Instead of writing the dialogue in English and indicating that it will be spoken in Italian or French, the writer instead writes out the dialogue in the language, then tells us what the translation is in English below that in parentheses. It becomes tedious and breaks up the flow of the story.
Period.
Yeah.
I just have one daddy don't, and it's very simple. Don't forget the importance of essence on the page. It's not just about visuals. It's about feeling you evoke in the reader. And while a lot of times the action was incredibly long-winded and specific, it was totally void of feeling for me most of the time.
Agreed. Yeah.
And I felt like the movie actually had quite a bit of essence.
Oh, yeah.
That it made looking back at the script stark. Because I was like, I didn't really feel it. Again, there were moments, like you said, like the rubbing of there were moments where he would kind of like evoke a greater, like where he evoked other senses, right? Yeah. Like a rubbing of a thing. That's like that's a little bit more of a sense and stuff. But like that feeling mixed with like that nostalgia, all this stuff, like that it just felt like that wasn't there. And looking back on so many of the scripts that have like genuinely fucking moved us.
Yeah.
Of all different genres at all different times, we have almost always come back to there being an essence on the page. And again, not, good Lord, not 24/7 the whole time. That's maybe not even sustainable, but more so a consistency to it where you feel that care, that extra care. And I didn't have as much feeling as I wanted to have during this. And then again, watching the movie and feeling more just made me go all the more like, oh, it could have been there because what came out of it did provide feeling, you know?
Agreed. I feel like I want to wait like 6 months and then watch the movie again, having not just read the script and see how I feel then.
Interesting.
I want to see because I am still reeling a bit from the fact I loved this movie when it came out.
Yeah.
Loved it. But also it's because I was relating so deeply to it that I think that,
And again, it's like,
interesting.
But I also think if you really zoom out, like that is ultimately my favorite thing about art is that like, however you feel about this movie is fine and gorgeous. Like, this is a well-loved movie. And like, who are we to stand in the way of that? It's more just like, again, this is our podcast.
And if someone does love this story and is like rides hard for this story, I would love to hear an intentional positive critique of this movie of what story beats and what portions of the storytelling do you feel really worked? And, explain it to me. I would actually love to hear that.
Actually, same. Yeah.
Like,
do you mean specifically like with the movie or the script as well?
In terms of the script and the storytelling itself, because like from script to screen, I think the story's just okay. Just in general.
Yeah.
The topics that it's exploring, I think it could be explored in a much more intriguing way.
Yeah.
In a way that is, I don't know, more deep. But for someone who this is a 10 out of 10 movie, I would actually love to hear your thoughts and opinions on it.
For me too.
Because I find that fascinating, like you said, because like however you feel is correct. It's how you're supposed to feel.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well,
we did it.
We did it. And that was Call Me By Your Name.
Carlie
Colin.
What if from here on out we only called each other? That'd be weird. That'd be weird. Anyway.
This has been your host, Carlie.
This has been your host, Colin.
And we are signing off until next time, babies.